When does flexibility become so good that it results in overcomplication? Well, Geometric Future is pretty close to the answer to that eternal question with the Model 2 ARC case that we built on Robeytech Live. A case that is, just to open it, takes 27 screws being removed, and where the book is more like a techno Lego set and less like an optional case accessory like most of today's popular cases. However, it has a myriad of options, and I do mean myriad, like 15 different ways that you can put inside what you want. It's more of a transformer. But is there more to this case than meets the eye when it comes to the Geometric Future Model 2? Well, let's build in it and find out. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see new cases like the Geometric Future Model 2, either as full reviews or as build overviews like this one, make sure you hit that subscribe button, whip that like button, and ring that notification bell so you get a notification each and every time we post a video like this on Robeytech. So, on to the build. Well, let's talk about what we're putting inside of today's case. Coming in at $3,900. For the processor, we're using the Core i9-14900K. For the motherboard, the ROG Strix B660-i gaming Wi-Fi. For our graphic card, the NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4090 FE. For the SSD, the Kingston Fury Renegade 4TB NVMe drive. For RAM, Kingston Fury 6000 MHz, 32 gigs of DDR5 RAM. The case is the Geometric Future Model 2, also known as the ARC. The cooler is Corsair's IQ Link H150i RGB, and then the power supply, the Cooler Master V1100 SFX PSU. Let's do the motherboard and all that stuff first, and then we'll get to taking the case apart like we normally do. All right, let's get in here and drop this in now. It's a tiny Mobo, guys, but that's the fun of it, right? Oh, it got caught. Okay, here we go, guys. 97. Ooh, that was 94. That sounded way louder, though. 95. No, it didn't get any. That sounded way clickier, but no. Welcome to taking this build apart. Okay, it's gonna take. First thing is along the top, there are 4 screws. Before I get too crazy, I do want to show something. These actually allows you to move in and out. These are actually movable, so you can actually make it so they give you more airflow, I guess, is the kind of the thing. Okay, so there's those. Okay, now we turn it over. Okay, there's one. Boom. There's 3. Okay, there's all the doors off. Okay, and then now, there we go. And then this comes off, just like that. Okay, so here is the case. The power switch is actually at the top right here. So this is actually the power switch right here. Let's stick this off to the side. Let's take a look at what's inside here. Now, there is something in here that's actually pretty cool. Okay, this is the exterior connectivity for the, so it doesn't have any front I/O. What it uses is this thing right here, which is called NOAA. So yeah, literally called NOAA, because, you know, ARC and NOAA. So this is NOAA, and the way it connects is via a, and this is like, I don't think I've ever seen a cable like this before, is a USB-C motherboard connection to a USB-C, and then this plugs in back here, and then this is your front panel I/O now. So you just kind of click it in like that, and then you move it. There we go, and then we'll shift these down. All right, now we have them all in, and now see, we can shift the board as we need to now. Install SFX and fasten the 2 screws. And because we're doing the SFX PSU, I won't worry about cabling right now. We're gonna grab our I love SFF power supplies. We're gonna grab our very, very awesome 1100 watt PSU right there. It's gonna go right here, like that. Now it's time to install the graphics card. So now we're gonna take this beautiful giant 4090, it says just put it in. Whoa, okay. I'm seeing why here. Okay, so I have to move this up to be able to use all 3. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna basically get this to the right thickness for, okay, that kind of feels like the best place right there. Okay, guys, we actually have all of the major components in, which is good. Okay, so it looks like we can put a fan at the top up here. and then everything else is just about getting the radiators and everything else in. So I think I've got that in. I've got one fan in. Okay, let's grab our cables for power and then we'll kind of tie it all in. Like, does this just come out here, I guess? Okay, so here's our power cable. So this is gonna go in here. There we go. There we go. Stretching our build skills right now. Okay, so that's that. We got kind of these in like a clean space. Now we do have the AIO to get in there, so let's go ahead and work on that now. This is the AIO side, I think, right? I think what we're gonna do simply is just mount this to the outside like this. I'm just gonna put in 2 of the screws right now. Whoa, I just dropped the wow stick. I was like, wow stick, no! Okay, so now this is how it would work. Oh, see, and this is where we end up with the awesomeness. So it almost feels like it might be better to do it this way. This is, I mean, it still might fit because it's just this one cable that's hitting it now. I mean, that does fit. It's fine. Okay, we actually have a installed radiator, so now we can look at it and see if the fitment is right. Wow, okay, so there's way more clearance than I thought. It's funny because it's gonna be like twisted through. Well, no, I can just do this. So let's just put some thermal paste in there. There we go, beautiful spread there. Okay, so now what we gotta do is we gotta get all of our little things connected. All of the cables are now connected. Let's get our fans on this. There we go. Okay, already kind of put together. That's nice and clean. Everything is now hooked up, guys. The build is officially done. Okay, now we gotta take the cover and put it back on. Like I said, every corner, every bit looks nice and clean, which is what I wanted. So let's start putting the covers back on. There it is, marshmallow complete. Definitely gonna have to figure out your plugging in cable strategy here. Okay, here we go. I don't know where the technically the front's over here, but okay. Here you go. 3, 2, 1. It's on. Oh, the fans are on. One fan's on. Wait, why is only one fan on? Oh, do they need to be connected? Dude, I bet you, I think the connectors got taken out. And I think that's the problem, is that they're not connected. Okay, guys, we finally have this set up in such a way. I'm gonna turn this on. We should see all the fans now. We don't, I quit. There they are. Now, before deep diving too much into the rest of the build, I want to break down what we put inside of the Geometric Future Model 2, the ARC, which I'm just going to call the ARC moving forward because that's a name. Now, because of the flexibility of this case, I knew it was saying it could run both the biggest and supposedly hottest components on the market. So kicking it off with the CPU, we use the Intel Core i9-14900K, a beast of a CPU in both performance and also in heat. For the GPU, we jammed in the Founders Edition RTX 4090, but to be clear, this case is capable of handling the biggest of 40 series GPUs. For the PSU, we had the choice between ATX and SFF PSUs, and I decided on the Cooler Master V11 SFX Platinum PSU to ensure that we could put all the big components in the case. For motherboard, we ended up going with the more challenging, and I'll explain more on that later, the RG Strix B660-i mini-itx gaming Wi-Fi. Couple things. One, we weren't planning on overclocking it, hence the B660, and second, because I thought mini-itx was going to be for using the biggest GPUs. Again, more on that later. Now for RAM, we used the usual 6000 megatransfer DDR5 RAM from Kingston with a 4TB NVMe drive to make sure there was plenty of space, and for cooling, I knew the case was going to be difficult. Let's just be honest. So I went with the Corsair IQ Link system just to ensure that the fans and the AIO were as easy to manage as absolutely possible. If I had complicated cable management on top of all those screws, I may be dead right now. I wanted to walk you through this because I wanted to see you the thought process that I put into the builds and the components, thinking of a similar system that any of you might want to put into a case like this versus just what's going to look good or what's just going to cost the most or the least. It's not about building the best PC, but looking at the case and trying to pair it with the right PC components. So how did the case actually perform once we put all the hot stuff inside of it? I mean, it did take a while, but come on, this case supports a 360mm AIO, and it does look to have the ideal design for airflow. So did the 14900K and 4090 do well? Well, first thing, let's talk about the 14900K. We turned off all the crap that would push the CPU in unnecessary ways, allowing it to run at Intel stock settings. So when you look at what our thermals did, you may be surprised, but that's because it's important to know that Mobos can a lot of times end up being the problem. So kicking it off with the CPU at idle, we were fine sitting at a normal mid 36 degrees on average to be exact. For our heavy load testing, we saw things sitting at an average of 92 degrees with an average of 235 watts being pulled from the CPU. Totally reasonable if you wanted to do long-term rendering or workload work with a build like this, and we saw a Cinemage score of around 35K plus with these conditions. For gaming temps on the CPU, how most of you might actually use a build like this, we were looking at a whopping 70 degrees. Oh wait, never mind, that's not that hot and we're not melting the planet like probably many of you thought it would. In fact, the H150i was barely breaking a sweat, and the quality QX120 fans were never really all that noisy. For GPU temps, we also got good numbers with an idle temperature of 41 degrees Celsius and an average of 63 degrees when under load and in gaming. So for all of the complications this case provides when building it, once it's built, the build we placed in it did quite well. Now before gaming and talking about gaming performance, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the build experience. Because I will be honest, thermals were good, but the build experience, let's just say there could be some 200 level college courses on this case, just given how complicated it is. I mean, could you imagine getting, I hereby give you a degree in the Geometric Future 2 Bachelor of Science. I mean, I'm not kidding. Even as someone who has built literally thousands of PCs, I will say after spending time in the manual, I still made mistakes in terms of my configuration. First one is the micro-atx versus mini-itx issue that came up in the middle of the stream. So when I looked at the instructions, I understood that the biggest GPUs, if I was gonna make them fit in this case, I thought I needed to use a mini-itx, not a micro-atx, but when I was building and started to actually use the case, it wasn't working as I expected. And even when I went back, I still just looked perplexed. So when looking back, it was in fact micro-atx, which is counter to what you think it would be because you think, hey, smaller motherboard, less room, use more bigger parts. Robey, da. But instead it's use bigger, Mobo, make smaller, yeah. You get my point. But it's not just that. I mean, when you look at all the brackets and all the way that things can be mounted, sure, it's flexible, but it's confusing. And it took a really long time to finally have everything in the right place to complete the build I had actually planned. And that was me pre-planning it. A lot. Now, if you look back and you check out the stream, you will see that I actually ended up taking things apart numerous times to move mounts around or motherboard location or making things fit. Because unlike, like, say, the Fractal Terra, there are like no settings or markers on anything that says, hey, congratulations, dum-dum, you actually put it in the right place. Then on top of all that, On top of everything, once you get everything in the case and you get it all set up like I did, I realized that I hadn't plugged in my fans correctly, and I had to remove 27 screws just to do minor maintenance. Essentially, I'm not saying that this is a bad case, but it does an awful lot to make it really hard to do any maintenance work, and I don't know why. Now, the final thing worth noting is routing all of the cables to actually hook up your PC to, say for instance, your keyboard, mouse, and monitor. I'll be honest, it's haphazard all the way down to Noah. Not the biblical figure from the Bible, but the add-on that comes with the Model 2 Ark. Get it? Ark and Noah? See, and all the connections come out of these 4 little wings right here, and I had to take the case apart. Remember 27 screws? I mean, dude, I want to just do the math because I probably took it apart like 5 times to reroute the cables to the right place. So that's like 100 plus screws. And there is no indication of where you're actually supposed to get the cables out of. So what you really have is a super clean unibody design with cables like shooting out like tentacles, like an octopus. Unlike say cases like the Corsair 2000D or the Encore 100 Max or even the H1 from NZXT, which is what I kind of liken this case to. It's really easy to kind of know where the cables are supposed to go in and out of on those cases, unlike this one. Okay, so that was a lot. Thermals were actually pretty good. Build experience, let's just go with complicated. But how's the game performance should I decide to take the Bachelor of Science in the Geometric Future Arc? Well, given it's a 4090/14900K, pretty dang good. Let's kick it off with Cyberpunk 2077 at 1440p with ray tracing and ultra and DLSS set to auto with no frame generation on. We hit 213.86 FPS. I mean, okay. Let's talk about Starfield. Again, 1440p, but this time, let's just do it raw. Let's just make sure that there's nothing, no DLSS anything. We saw 120 plus FPS on both planet and also flying around space. Now, it would actually be higher if you decided to go ahead and turn on DLSS, not that you need to. Next up, you have Forza Horizon 5, again at 1440p with graphics set to extreme, DLSS set to auto and frame generation on. We were looking at 262 FPS, which is perfectly fine for racing, one might say. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, let's look at campaign settings at 1440p, extreme graphics, DLSS set to balanced, and frame generation on. We were sitting at 257 FPS. So enjoy those 10 to 15 minutes of campaign gameplay. For Shadow of the Tomb Raider 1440p, again highest graphical preset and DLSS set to balance, you're looking at 261. Finally, rounding out the single player games with Tiny Tina's Wonderland with graphics set to badass and FSR 2.0 set to balanced, we saw 263 FPS. Again, there is no DLSS, it is an AMD optimized title, hence FSR. And FSR works on everything, so yay AMD for helping out NVIDIA. For MP titles, we kick it off with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, graphics maximized for competitive gameplay. We saw 309 frames per second at 1440p? Sure, that's fine. And finally, Fortnite, again, graphics set for competitive gameplay, maximizing frame rate. We saw the almost completely unplayable, can't believe it was this bad, 417 frames per second. You know what, we should just throw it in the garbage. Okay, so there you have it, our full rundown of the $3,900 build inside of the Geometric Future Model 2, the Arc. A case that takes a lot of work to get up and running and to maintain, but once you have it, it does actually do a good job of managing the thermals and providing the performance in a unique and interesting case that will look different and not take up a ton of room on your desk. If it's something you're interested in, you know what? Honestly, then go for it. Hopefully between this and the full live stream, we can help you have a build in this case that makes you happy and makes you not take the case apart 5 times. I just wanted to highlight the quirks and the difficulties that the build provides. But honestly, if you're looking to build in this, it's actually a very well-performing case. Now you might be asking, look, I love the footprint reduction, but I don't want the complications. Are there any alternatives? And the answer is yes. First, if you really want something easy, that's very simple to build, check out the Cooler Master Encore 100 Max, which we have the full review on right here. You can't do the most powerful CPUs, but it does allow for some crazy chunky GPUs. The other option, and you can also look at this, which is the Corsair 2000D, probably the closest competitor to this and looks very, very similar. That one you can check out the full review as well. And this allows some nice sized GPU options, but also provides really good CPU cooling for even the hottest CPUs. But that's enough about what I think. What do you think of this case? Were you genuinely interested in the Geometric Future Model 2? Does this appear to be a case that you would actually build in? And do you feel like the flexibility and options for the case outweigh how complicated it is to build in? I'd love you to tell me all that and more down in the comments below. Now, while you're down there, make sure you slap that subscribe button with that like button and ring that notification bell so that you know when we post a video like this right here on Robeytech. Do you want to discuss more on cases or builds? Then head on over to discord.gg/Robeytech, where you can talk to other PC and tech enthusiasts who love to discuss these very same things. Also, you can make sure you ensure you follow me at Robeytech absolutely everywhere for tech information and videos. Anyway, that is it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.